Good afternoon. Key players for the Sydney Swans are expected to be charged by the AFL as police continue investigating an alleged sexual assault at the team's Melbourne hotel. The players assisting detectives, including stars Isaac Heaney and Chad Warner, appeared to be lying low today. They weren't seen arriving for a club training session at Moore Park. More from Chief Reporter Chris Reason.
Good afternoon. Confirmation from a Swans official today that each of the players named in this scandal has now sought individual representation before they are officially interviewed off-site by club officials. This morning at Swans HQ Moore Park, we saw a stream of players arriving for training, all looking deeply concerned but politely refusing to make any comment. We counted at least 20 entering the complex, but no sign of the 4 players so far named as assisting police with the investigation: Isaac Heaney, Chad Warner, James Jordan and Riley Bice. We're getting a little more detail now on the movements of some players and staff. This security camera vision apparently showing head coach Dean Cox and staffers leaving a bar on Church Street after midnight. Here's the Swans captain and the coach arriving here this morning.
I can't really comment, mate. It's an investigation ongoing and we don't have the facts yet. So once everything's sort of sorted and facts are being understood, then we can comment. But till now we can't make any comments.
Obviously extremely disappointed with what's happened and understand the questions, and we'll update as we gather more information.
Police say the investigation relates to reports of a sexual assault at the Pullman Hotel early yesterday, reaffirming today that no one's been arrested or even formally interviewed as yet, with the sex crimes squad now taking carriage of the inquiry. The incident has rocked the club, second on the ladder going into the finals. AFL greats Gary Lyons calling this an unmitigated disaster for the Swans, while Nick Riewoldt is saying that their finals chances are already finished. Back to you.
The Albanese government has clinched a deal with the opposition to pass its contentious gambling reform legislation. Live to political reporter Jasmine Turling's in Canberra. Hello, Jazz. Not everyone in the major party ranks are pleased with this bill.
That's right. Good afternoon, Anne. We've seen 2 coalition MPs cross the floor this afternoon, siding with the independents who say these reforms simply don't go far enough. The new amendments struck between Labor and the coalition include banning direct marketing inducements like bonus bets for vulnerable gamblers. The government will also establish an opt-out register rather than an opt-in for people who don't want to see gambling ads online. Critically as well, there'll be a 6-month statutory review of the laws 3 years after they come into effect.
It doesn't preach to the community, but it meaningfully increases protections for those who most need it.
Well, they say the house always wins, and today the gambling industry has won.
I won't make any friends in the coalition by saying I think we're being weak by not implementing those reports.
Meanwhile, Jazz, One Nation is pushing for a giant cut in the tobacco excise.
That's right, Anne. Current policy, it says, is underwriting organised crime, fueling the tobacco turf wars we're seeing across the country. Pauline Hanson is calling for the tobacco excise to be cut by 75% and pause indexation for 3 years. Pass through in full, it says a legal pack would go from roughly $46 to about $21 or $22.
Labor's tobacco tax has failed. Australians are sick and tired of the fire bombings, shootings and murders.
It's out of whack. We need to do something with it. Organised crime is the only one that's winning.
Now, One Nation's argument here is that revenue is already in free fall, losing billions of dollars in tax each year. But the government is yet to find any evidence that a reduction in the excise will lead to any material solution to the problem. Anne.
Jasmine Turling's in Canberra. Thank you very much. An overseas holiday has turned into a nightmare for an Australian teenager stabbed in a random attack in New York City. The 19-year-old was eating at a McDonald's in Manhattan, where police say he was knifed in the ribs and back. He was rushed to hospital and is expected to make a full recovery. A 25-year-old man was arrested at the scene and charged with assault. Hundreds of arrests have been made and guns have been seized during a 3-day statewide domestic violence blitz. Authorities cracking down on high-risk offenders breaching court orders. Taylor Aiken has the details.
Good afternoon. Well, New South Wales Police have once again signalled a zero-tolerance approach to domestic violence, launching a 3-day statewide operation as part of Operation Amarok, targeting some of the worst domestic violence offenders across the state.
732 people were arrested and charged with a range of domestic violence offences, with police also carrying out 12,000 AVO compliance checks.
It's designed to activate, pursue, arrest and charge those more serious offenders across New South Wales.
This is the 14th Operation Amarok, an intelligence-led targeted operation with their sights on high-risk domestic violence offenders in the community, working beyond the daily domestic violence work police do every day.
Every 3 minutes there is a call for a domestic violence incident.
But senior police say the number of guns seized during this weekend's operation has officers alarmed. Police seizing 118 firearms and 16 other weapons.
Those are firearms that are held by licence holders that have committed domestic violence offences and should not have possession of firearms in those circumstances.
This is also the first time that New South Wales Police have worked across the border with their federal colleagues in Canberra, arresting people across the border to ensure that no perpetrators are left untouched.
An investigation into the major Origin Energy data breach has reportedly been traced to a former call centre employee in the Philippines. The cyber attack compromised the personal information of nearly 1 million customers. The suspected employee worked for Accenture, a firm Origin uses to manage customer support and billing. He's accused of stealing the customer data from its Manila office before allegedly trying to extort Origin for money. The Australian Federal Police says it is still investigating. Australian cricket star David Warner has been fined and will need an interlock device installed in his car after being convicted for drink driving. He blew more than twice the legal limit in April, and his captaincy for the Sydney Thunder is now in doubt. Emily Francis is at Waverley Court.
Attempting to avoid a random breath test, then recording a reading of more than double the legal limit. Australian cricket icon David Warner hasn't just had his reputation bruised. The 39-year-old took a tumble outside a Sydney court today after being sentenced for drink driving.
Do you think young people still look up for you to...
Warner has been dealt a criminal conviction, fined $1,500 and will now have to face a breath test every time he gets behind the wheel for the next 12 months. The court heard today the Sydney father had 3 glasses of wine at a family barbecue on Easter Sunday. Within minutes of his last drink, he admitted to driving his family home into the path of an RBT in Maroubra. Police say he stopped short of the breath testing site and was seen swapping seats with the passenger, but was caught and charged by police. Delivering the sentence, the judge told the court the conviction would have a very significant impact on him, probably more significant than other people because he has a public profile. But that does not mean it would be appropriate to treat him in any different way to any other drunk driver. After 4 months off the road, Warner is now free to get back behind the wheel under those very strict conditions.